Yes, thank you. Thank you for this detailed explanation about a concise history of Bengal in 10 minutes. So, yeah, now we will come back to the current scenario. So, you had mentioned in your initial observation that TMC and Mamata Banerjee are more leftist than the left themselves in many aspects. So, and you, as a journalist, as an observer, correct, you would have seen the kind of policies Buddha Babu had, and he was like more pro-capitalist than any other people. So, this transition of Mamata Banerjee from being anti-left, I don't know, not sure about how what was her views on left ideas, but she was very anti-left in terms of political ideology. So, what is your observation? When did Mamata Banerjee, from being anti-left, fighting the left government, to herself becoming a very left-leaning, ultra left-leaning politician? So, how this transformation takes place, and what do you think? What could have been the reason behind this, politically and otherwise?
And as a journalist and as a former resident of Bengal, as a general citizen, it would be erroneous to say that Mamata Banerjee was ever anti left. In fact, in 2007, I remember very clearly having edited reports where Mamata Banerjee was heard saying that she is not anti left, she is only anti CPM. She went on to state that leftists like members of the RSP, of the CPI, and of the other eight smaller communist parties that made the left front, she was not hostile to them. She made it very clear. Now, what happened is, on the one hand, you have her short tenure as a Union Railway Minister and even Youth and Sports Minister under the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in the early 2000s, when she was even seen fighting and jostling with CPM MPs over the question of Bangladeshi infiltrators. However, as the days passed, we know that Jyoti Basu was a formidable chief minister and a political opponent of the Congress in West Bengal. And Mamata Banerjee could never come anywhere close to defeating Jyoti Basu. Buddhadev Bhattacharjee was considered a bit weaker, a milder version of Jyoti Basu. If I may draw an analogy, I would say Buddhadev Bhattacharjee was the I.K. Gujral of Bengal. A person who typically ventures to art galleries, talks like an intellectual, comes across less as an administrator, etc. And yet, Mamata Banerjee was struggling even to defeat Buddhadev Bhattacharjee until 2011. So after Jyoti Basu retired and Buddhadev Bhattacharjee stepped in, Mamata Banerjee was still struggling. Then the Nondigram incident happened in 2007, 2008, where Buddhadev Bhattacharjee tried to bring in a notorious Salem group for developing that village. That group was to come from Indonesia. And it was so notorious, that group, that people revolted against it. Now, during this revolt, and subsequently 3 or 4 years later, when the Shingur Andolon began against the, Tata Nano factory in that village, and there were questions raised on land acquisition from the farmers and all that. That was the duration, that is between 2007 and 2011, that Mamata Banerjee realized what the winning formula of the CPM was. The secret behind the long rule of CPM-led left front was that on the ground, they would be kind of governed by goons, by hoodlums, by antisocial elements. But their official face, as far as their spokespersons who appear on television is concerned, as far as such intellectuals who supported them and wrote about them in newspapers are concerned, they put up a different kind of a front on behalf of the left front rule. They said this was people's revolution. So they kind of legitimized and glorified what was nothing but an anarchic, antisocial rule of the communists. And Mamata Banerjee realized that. Not only did she realize it, it was also the hoodlums, the goons, the political henchmen who realized that the days of Buddhadev Bhattacharya are soon going to be over. And if they are going to be over, then their profession, their occupation, their vocation was at stake. And so they better take care of themselves. Thinking that, they moved to the Trinamool Congress lock, stock, and barrel. At the same time, when Muslims felt that the power was shifting in West Bengal, they also threw their weight behind Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee was not getting the Muslim votes till the time she was seen as an ally of the BJP at the center. But the moment she moved away from that, after the 2004 general elections, Muslims lost their inhibition for her and her party. And the other thing that happened was that towards the end of the 1990s, when Mamata Banerjee had rebelled against the undivided Congress, alleging that some of the senior leaders were sabotaging all her attempts to challenge the communist rule, since then, this was a long journey. When the Congress was undivided in Bengal, either Indira Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi did not care much about the political violence in the state, because what is happening to BJP karyakartas these days in West Bengal used to happen with Congress karyakartas in the 1970s and 80s and 90s. But the respective prime ministers of the Congress, Indira Gandhi, then Rajiv Gandhi, then PV Narasimha Rao, did not care. So in 97, 98, for the first time, there was a real challenger in the shape of Mamata Banerjee. So finally, you have three forces joining her. Supporters of the Congress who believed that the undivided Congress was a fake opposition. The real opposition is this breakaway Trinamool Congress. That was number one. Faction number two was communist goons. And faction number three were Muslims. So that is a winning combination you have there. That made her unbeatable for 15 years.